Alright, so in this question, we're being given different reducing balance loans with different payments. So whenever you've got a payment and you've got an interest rate, there's two factors happening to it, remember. There's your times in by R, whatever R ends up being. So that's, your 1 plus R over 100x. That's what R is. And then you've got your plus or minus D. Alright, so in this case, this is a loan, so it's minus D. So that's like a recurrence relation, which goes V0 equals RVN minus D. And to do that, to jump terms in a sequence along a sequence like that, you've got to do two steps every time. You can't just jump straight to like a faraway number with a simple formula. The formula for it is really complicated. So what they've done is made a finance solver inside your CAS that will do that for you. So let's just use the finance solver now. So finance solver doesn't use the same symbols as your formulas do. They use slightly different ones. They use PV. Oh, sorry, the first one they use is N. And that means the number of payment periods. Then they use PV, which is the principal value. Then they use payment, which is the payment amount. Then they use FV. I'm trying to remember them all in the right order now. That's the future value. And then CPY and PPY, which is pretty much always the same thing. So I usually just do them together like that, but your calculator likes them separate. And this question here is just about practicing using that. There's one I missed, interest rate, and that goes just below N. And in your workings, in your SAC, you have to write it out like this. And you say, and then we know you've used finance solver. So normally these wouldn't be the symbols you use, but your finance solver uses those letters as their kind of code word. So let's figure out what's what. So this is your PV. This is your interest rate. This is your compounding period. So that's CPY, PPY. Payments per period, that's your PMT. And balance is after, balance after means that's N. Okay. And just check that that unit matches that. So for example, when it says 1 year, that means that N is actually going to be 12 there, because it's in a monthly payment scheme. So N is number of payments. So you've got to use your head a little bit there. So like N here is 20, because it's 5 lots of quarters. Here N is 8 and N is 52 there. This one's fine. This is just N is 6. Okay. Everything else is pretty straightforward. You just use it as it is. Now, the other thing you've got to bear in mind is the signs that you use. So negative and positive have a really big impact in this finance solver. Negative generally is when it's leaving you. When it is leaving let's call them an investor. So, or the loan customer. So I'm just going to write customer. So if it's leaving your wallet, it's negative. If it's going to you, to your bank, then it's positive. So just like to explain how like a loan works, you apply for a loan and the money gets put into your bank account. So you see your bank balance go up. So the bank was just literally moved some digits from their little pot to your little pot. So you don't really ever get the money, but the numbers go up anyway. And that's what we mean by going to your bank. And so leaving is when your bank balance goes down. So it goes from your pot back to their pot. So let's have a look then. We've got, okay, so for the first, I'll just do A because you guys will get the rest. All right, so A, N is 6, I is 4.5, PV is 8,000. Now this is where we've got to decide negative or positive. The other two, you never really do negative, positive, just always do positive. PV here, if this is a loan, PV is positive. They've given us eight grand. And it's a negative 350 payment. Future value. Use the finance calculator to find the balance, correcting the percent of each of the following reducing balance loans after the given number of compounding periods. So actually, they need to find the balance. FV is the unknown here. So we're going to put that as a blank. And this is what you use to work it out, all right? And then CPY, PPY is monthly, so it's 12. And that, if you type in a calculator on Finance Solver, will give you the answer. So let's just do that example really quickly. Finance Solver, all right, I just press tab and delete, and it just deletes everything. Ready to go. Alright, so number 6, 4.5, 8,000 positive, negative 350, blank, 12, 12. Sometimes they won't match, but it'll be really obvious if they don't, because it'll be said in the question that, you know, payments are monthly but compounding's not. But most of the time they're always the same. Right, leave this blank, press enter, and it gives you your answer. Now that means, because it's negative, that means still owing. So I'm just going to add that to your notes here. So hang on, 6061.91 to 2 decimal place. Negative can mean or still owing if it is FV. So whenever FV is negative, it means still owing. Technically, if FV goes positive, that means they owe you. So an example of that might be if you use this for a house question. So if it's talking about an investment, then the money owed to you is the value of the property. So it's basically profit. So if FV is positive, it's like profit. If FV is negative, it means it's like the opposite of profit. It means you're going to have to pay that debt. All right, hopefully that helps answer those questions, and you can work through the rest on your own.